I'm here on the Isle of Wight to meet up with 3 fossil hunters who are going to show me all sorts of amazing fossils that you can find here and how I can find them safely. What could I expect to find here?
Meat-eating dinosaurs.
Alligator teeth.
You find shark remains.
I've even found bison bones here that have the tooth marks of hyenas in them, who would have been tearing apart dead bison in English countryside about 100,000 years ago. So this is a Neolithic scraper. You can see the working along the edge here.
That's how you tell it's fossil wood and not from someone's barbecue last summer.
Got it just here. It is complete.
Wow.
That's incredible. Hi guys, it's lovely to meet you. So what are we going to be seeing today?
So I'm Theo, so I'm going to be taking around Thorness Bay today. We're going to be looking at fossils ranging from the Eocene and the Oligocene periods through to the Ice Ages and on into the Neolithic and the arrival of the Bronze Age.
I'm Megan and I'll be taking you to Compton Bay where we'll be looking at Cretaceous dinosaurs and some other Cretaceous fossils as well.
Hi, I'm Jack. Later on we'll be going to St Catherine's Point. I'm going to be taking you down looking for Isle of Wight Cretaceous ammonites down on that coastline.
Brilliant. Should we head off and see what we can find?
Yes, let's take a look.
As you watch me wander off down the beach with Theo, here are a few basic safety tips to know for your own fossil hunting adventures. Let someone know where you're going and when you expect to return. Check the tide times before you go and keep an eye on the tide throughout the day so that you don't get caught in a dangerous spot. Keep away from cliffs and never dig fossils out of them. Cliffs can be unstable, plus you'd need the landowner's permission to dig in them. Wear sturdy footwear and watch where you step. Report interesting fossils to Dinosaur Isle Museum or us at the Natural History Museum. For more tips, follow the link to our website in the video description. Right, now we've covered all of those, let's find some fossils. You're about to join Theo and I on the northwest coast of the Isle of Wight. So we're a little bit further up the beach now. So what could I expect to find here?
Yes, we're slightly further west along Thorness Bay. The cliff line erodes more rapidly here, therefore we're more likely to find fossils than we were back at the start. Actually, at Thorness Bay, there's a broad spectrum of finds that we can make, covering quite a large period of time. So we have fossils here from the Eocene and the Oligocene period, turtles, mammals, alligators, fish. We have Ice Age megafauna here, like bison fossils we can find, and through into the arrival of human beings with artifacts from the Mesolithic, the Neolithic, and the beginning of the Bronze Age as well.
There's quite a range of things you can find here, so would I be looking for them right on the shoreline here?
Well, actually, not so much here. We'd more be looking for them up there, actually, amongst the shingle line. Yeah, so we'll have a little look around this area. So you can see we've got a mixture of different bits of shingle here. There's this finer shingle up the beach. There's this kind of bigger stuff down here. So really we can expect to find fossils of those sizes depending on how the seas wash them up. So there might be a little smaller fossils at the top, bigger fossils down here. So we'll spend some time kind of looking around this area, seeing what we can come across.
Oh, so for me this is a lot of like rocks. So
Yeah.
what kind of shapes and colours and things like that am I looking for?
In particular, dark black. So you can see we have lots of orange ironstone on the beach here, but most of the fossil bones here will be quite dark in colour. They've been stained over millions of years. The fossil shells here will be bleach white. Most of the bones you'll see some kind of bony form to them, the spongy bone on the inside maybe. Things like fossil turtle shells, little square pieces like that. But really generally, yeah, a dark colour is what we'd be after.
And so whereabouts are these fossils coming from? Are they coming down from the cliffs?
Yeah, so these are coming from the clay we have in the cliff line. So the rock here is eroding very rapidly. It's very fine clay. It hasn't been particularly lithified or turned to rock very well. And so as the sea eats back at this cliff line, it will erode through beds of fossil shells and seeds and bones. And these fossils will then be released onto the shoreline. They'll be part of the beach sediment for years and years. And if someone comes along and picks them up eventually at some point. A lot of people will walk along Thorness Bay and they'll think a lot of the shells in the shoreline are modern day, and you would think that. The majority of them actually are Eocene. They're about 34 million years old or so. They wouldn't look at, looking at my hand here, you can see a mix of different species there. So yeah, all of these would be fossilised. They're just very, very well preserved because of the clays they've been deposited into.
So we've done a little bit of fossil hunting up and down the beach now, and we found a few shells, which were really cool. But I know that you found some other bits around here. Could you tell me a little bit about what you found?
Yes, we've got a selection of some of the other things you might expect to find if we did a bit more kind of fossil hunting on the coastline. So starting off really chronologically, we've got some of the Eocene and the Oligocene fossils we might expect to come across, some of the more common ones. So one of the most common fossils on the beach that we find from those earlier rocks here are turtle shells. So fossil turtles have been quite common in the coastal floodplain that would have existed here about 34 million years ago. So this is a piece of a soft-shell turtle's carapace. So you can see across the surface this really beautiful, intricate kind of wrinkling pattern. It's very thin. You've got the spongy bone on the inside. On the back we can see part of the turtle's rib and kind of coming around like this. We still have soft-shell turtles today, quite a few species in the Middle East and Africa as well, and they'd have been here during the Eocene period. Another common fossil from this time period are alligator teeth. So alligators would have been just as abundant in this kind of floodplain, and like sharks, they replace their teeth a little bit, but a lot more slowly. So they can be quite a common find on the shoreline. So this is part of the tooth of an alligator species called Diplocynodon. So these kind of teeth we might find just sifting through the shingle, and on a good day when it's nice and rough, you can actually come across a little handful of these guys just kind of scattered about on the shoreline. Average size this big, we can find up to about that kind of size. So some pretty big crocodilians would have been around here at this point in time. So these are our kind of Eocene fossils. Then moving down through, I suppose, the time periods here, we get to the Ice Age, we get to bits like this. So this is the femur of a steppe bison, so an extinct species of bison that would have lived across Eurasia and North America during the Pleistocene. So the steppe bison is the most common Ice Age mammal we come across on the Isle of Wight. We can find their bones along this coastline on big mudflats where there's Ice Age deposits. So this particular bone is 115,000 years old-ish as a rough estimate. So it dates to a period called the Ipswichian. So it was the last warm period in the Ice Age before the one that we are in now. So the environment wouldn't have been freezing cold, would have actually been quite warm and temperate. So we can see it's actually about the same size as a human femur, bit heavier built, lots of muscle on a bison, and these guys would have been roaming around in large herds, feeding on open grasslands, in open woodlands as well. And actually you can feel it's pretty light. It hasn't really heavily fossilised. 100,000 years ago isn't that big of a time span when we think about the grand scheme of things. So a lot of this is still pretty fresh bone, or on the way towards becoming fossilised slowly. So really, really cool find.
You can see all the internal structure.
Yeah, and you can see that spongy bone. You've got some of these kind of crushing bits here. I've even found bison bones here that have the tooth marks of hyenas in them, who would have been tearing apart dead bison in English countryside about 100,000 years ago. So a really cool time period. Alongside that we can get bits of mammoth, rhinoceros, wild horses. Into those kind of colder periods we'd find fossils of reindeer as well. And alongside these, in later deposits we get fragments of stone tools from Neanderthals, so Paleolithic humans moving into the area. So really, really cool. And then on the topic of humans, the youngest stuff we'll come across at Thorness Bay, quite a wide selection of prehistoric archaeology here. So stretching from the Mesolithic, there's very famous Mesolithic sites actually offshore, below the sea level, due to the sea level rise since the end of the Ice Age. They've a lot of them been drowned. So Mesolithic hunter-gatherers were here, Neolithic farmers, into the Bronze Age as well. So this is a Neolithic scraper. You can see the working along the edge here. Like this, so it could be between anywhere from about 6,000 years ago to 4,000 years ago or so, and that's the rough time period of Neolithic in Britain. These people were farmers. They'd have lived around this area, maybe in small farmsteads. There wouldn't have been so much of a solent at the time. It would have been a marine strait to some extent, but this level would be much lower than it is today. There'd be more land kind of coming out that way. These people's ancestors had crossed from continental Europe, maybe a couple of hundred years before, a couple of thousand years before, and they brought farming to Britain as a lifestyle and replaced those indigenous hunter-gatherers that were here. So you can see all that nice working, a very glassy flint, really good quality material. This would be used for cleaning animal skins. So you want to make a nice goat skin jacket in your Neolithic farmstead, you'd be scraping all the fat and the gunk off the back of the skin, using a tool like that, so pretty cool. So these, I think what's so amazing is, although with the fossils we're the first people to ever see them, maybe in some cases, this was somebody else's 4,000 years ago or so, 5,000 years ago. So an extra element to kind of think about that, I think is very, very cool.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, it's just, so much here. Thank you so much for showing me a little bit of what you can find here. I'll step back to you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to head off now to the other side of the island to try and find Jack and see if we can find some ammonites. It's a quick 30-minute drive down to the southernmost tip of the Isle of Wight and one of the most remote bays on the island. It's small, but it's totally worth the visit.
So Jack, I've just come over here to Watershoot Bay, and I understand that we're now jumping back in time.
Yes, so we're jumping back around 65 million years from where we were on the north side of the island earlier. We're down here at Watershoot Bay. We're about 600 metres to the west of St Catherine's Lighthouse, which is just past there. And down here we're in the middle Cretaceous. We're about 99 through to about 95 million years old. So down here we get a great diversity of ammonites you can find, and you do get other fossils from the Cretaceous down here as well.
How big are the ammonites?
They range in size. You can find Schloenbachia, that sort of size, so really, really small. And you do get ammonites up to this sort of size down here as well.
Whereabouts would we be looking for those?
So the key places to look for ammonites down here in the big boulders. So you have big blocks of chalk, and along the edge of the chalk boulders you can sometimes see ammonites coming through.
Brilliant. Should we head off and see what we can find?
Yes, let's take a look.
And so what kind of rocks are we looking for?
So we're looking for chalk rocks. Here we have Cretaceous age chalk rocks. They're about 99 million years old. So with these rocks, we're looking for things on the surface. We're looking for little sections of ammonites. You do also get some bivalve fossils as well, and occasionally shark's teeth. We've got one here, just over here, Emily. You can see the edge of it just coming round here. And this is a type of ammonite called Schloenbachia. It's about 99 million years old.
So how do you know it's an ammonite?
So the key thing you're looking for within these chalk blocks are just the edges of the ammonite sticking out. So you can see here it's coming round. You can see it's got a line running over that top surface, which is called a keel, and then it's got a large series of lumps and bumps, and they're called nodes. So these are the key sort of things we're looking out for here. We're just looking for any round, planeospiral shapes, just with a keel and these lumps coming through.
And so it's obviously in a rock right now. Are we allowed to get it out of the rock?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not in a cliff section. It's a loose block that's fallen down. It's now on the beach. So as long as we're respectful about hammering, and we're not hammering to an unnecessary extent, then it's absolutely fine to remove it. And it looks like there's a bit of a crack just down here, so it should lift off the rock quite easily.
Can we have a go?
Yeah, of course. Let's do it. So I'll get my hammer and chisel out, and we'll just put the chisel in just there, and it should just lift off the rock quite easily. So if we come in from just round here, okay, so it just lifts off. Come down from just here. Okay. Got it just here. It is complete.
Wow.
You see it coming all the way around here. And it will need a bit of tidying up, but you can see it's spiralling round.
So do you get other types of ammonites on this beach?
Yeah, we do. We get quite a good diversity of ammonites down here, actually. We get another one called Mantelliferous, and we get a few others throughout this particular rock group. Schloenbachia is the most common one, and it does vary in its shape and size. You can find from this sort of size anything up to about that sort of size as well.
Should we see if we can find some more?
Yeah, definitely.
We've just been along the beach and had a bit of a look, see what we could find. But I know that you've brought along some of the ammonites that you've found and cleaned up. Can we take a look?
Yeah, of course. So this was the one we found earlier.
Yeah.
This was a genus called Schloenbachia. It's the most common ammonite down here, and I've brought along an example of the fully cleaned up one so we can see. So this is what they look like before preparation and then after preparation. You can see with this one, you've got the keel running round, like the one we found. It's very distinctive. And then it's got all these lumps, these nodes running around, and it's got some inner ones, the umbilical ones, and then it's got the ventral ones just running around here. And then the other main type of ammonite we do get down here is an ammonite called Mantelliferous, and that's what this one is here. So with this one, they're both ammonites, but they look very different in shape and size. So you can see this one's significantly larger, and it's got a lot more ribs per revolution than Schloenbachia does. And along the top surface here, you've got that keel. This one doesn't have a keel at all. Instead, it has two sets of these nodes running all the way around. So these are the two main types of ammonites you do tend to get down here on this beach.
So what are all the little lumps and bumps along?
So these are ribs running down, and then we've got some ventral nodes and some tubercles running down, which would probably help with the shell's rigidity and make it a bit stronger, a bit more stable as well. And that's the same with this one as well.
So what's the biggest ammonite that you've found on this particular beach?
So on this particular beach, I found an ammonite called the Compton out of one of the chalk rocks that we were looking at earlier, and it was about this sort of size.
Can you collect that, or do you have to leave it where it is?
So it depends on the beach. That one was a fallen block, and I had permission to collect that, so I collected that, and that was donated to a museum. And depending on where you are, you can collect things of that size. On some beaches you can't. It's always worth reading up just beforehand whether you can or can't.
And do you only find ammonites here?
No, you don't just find ammonites. You find other things. You find shark remains, bits of shark teeth, bits of shark vertebrae. You can find marine invertebrates like bivalves and brachiopods, and you do get the odd nautilus down here as well. So there is quite a good diversity of different things you can find down here. And in terms of ammonites, there's a lot of different species you can find down here as well, so they're quite diverse.
In terms of fossils, are ammonites the one thing that you're really interested in, or are there other things that you really love to find?
Yeah, my main focus has always been ammonites. I've always had an interest for them. And here on the island, we have so many different species. The diversity between them is really, really good. So I've always had an interest in finding them. And it becomes quite a mission, you know, getting them back. It's a very good experience. So I've always been actively looking for ammonites and seeing which different species I can find, and over time just accumulating different species from around the island.
And do you find ammonites anywhere else on the Isle of Wight?
You can find ammonites on several beaches around the island. So you can find them down here at Watershoot Bay. You can find them further along at Whale Chine and Chale Bay. You can also find them down at Compton and over at Culver and Yaverland as well. So there's a few places around the island on virtually all coasts where you can find ammonites.
So I have to check some of those out.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for showing me those and showing me this beach. It's been incredible.
No problem at all.
So I'm actually going to head off and head even further back in time now to go meet Megan at Compton Bay.
Back in the car for a final 20-minute drive up the west coast takes me to one of the most popular beaches for fossil hunting on the island.
So I've just got over to Compton Bay now, and I've taken another step back in time. And I've actually come up to meet with Megan, who knows all about this stretch of coastline. Megan, it's so nice to see you.
Same.
What can you tell me about Compton Bay?
So the rocks here at Compton have actually some of the oldest anywhere on the island. So they date between 130 to 127 million years. Back then this was a big floodplain. So you can imagine there was no sea and hills and grass. This was all completely flat with a huge river and lots of dinosaurs.
What kind of dinosaurs would you find in this area?
So the most common types of iguanodon, but we also got meat-eating dinosaurs here, little raptors and spinosaurs, and big sauropods as well, the ones with the long necks and tails.
Okay, should we go and have a look?
Yeah.
So whereabouts would I be looking if I was looking for a dinosaur on this beach?
So to find fossils on this beach, you want to be looking where all the loose shingle is, mostly down towards the bottom of the beach, just on a falling tide. We don't want to go too near the cliffs today. They're really unstable, bits come down all the time. You're going to have more luck searching through the shingle and picking up bits that have already been washed out. Oh look, so there's a couple of things down here. So this one here is actually a sponge.
It's a sponge.
But the cavities within the sponge have got quartz crystals growing in them.
Wow.
There's kind of 2 for 1. You've got a fossil sponge and a quartz geode.
That's awesome.
And the other one, you see the grey
Yeah.
bit of rock?
This one?
So this is from another formation called the Vectis. It's 125 million year old fossil shells.
So these are the shells?
Yeah, all these little white lines in there are fossil shells.
So what happened to these?
So this one we think is a storm deposit.
Okay.
So imagine all the shells are living happily in their little burrows in the mud. There's a storm, the waves rip up the lagoon floor, dump it all in a big pile, and these shells, they can't get out, they can't move. So essentially, it's not a very nice story. They suffocate and die. It's not great for the shell at the time, but it's really good for us because it's a very good environmental indicator. But also we get lots of other fossils preserved in these. So we always want to look for shiny black bits. So you get fossil fish bones, you get pterosaur teeth, pterosaur bones and shark fin spines. So this is really, really good stuff.
It's amazing.
And it's all over the beach as well.
I think we'll leave these here for somebody else to find.
Oh, so you see the black thing?
This one?
Yep. So this is actually fossilised wood. And it's 130 million years old. Wow. The black you're seeing is the wood, and that sparkly goldy green stuff is a mineral called fool's gold or iron pyrite. That's how you tell it's fossil wood and not from someone's barbecue last summer.
That's a good way of telling the difference. Obviously you're an expert and you can see these things in a way that I can't. What do you look for? What can you find if you're not an expert?
So the most common things are some like the examples we found today: the sponges, the fossil shells, bits of fossil wood. You always find those if there's shingle bouncing. If there isn't any shingle and you're agreed to buy a nice flat sand beach, there are some things that you can always see, and we'll go and have a look at those now.
So what is this?
So this is a dinosaur footcast. So you can see the 1, 2, 3 toes. You may notice it's not an impression in the mud, which I think most people are looking for. It's a big rock on the beach. And it's because it's formed in a very different way. So imagine back 130 million years ago, this was a big, sort of the inside bend of the river. There would have been a big pond. Maybe it was the last bit of water in the dry season. The dinosaurs were coming down to have a drink, leaving big holes in the mud as they sort of squelched through. And then the river bursts its banks in the wet season. It fills in all of those holes instantly with sand. That sand, over millions of years, turns to sandstone. And today, tide comes in, washes away the clays, and we get the hard sandstone on the beach.
Wow. So you've said it's got 3 toes. What kind of dinosaur would have made this?
So this is likely an iguanodon, or some type of iguanodon. It's very hard to sort of narrow it down to anything more than that based on a footprint. We know it's iguanodon, it's got 3 toes. They're quite widespread apart, and they're quite chunky toes. Meat-eating dinosaurs tend to have very pointy, elongate toes, big pointy claws at the end. So they're a lot more slender. And the sauropods, like Steppe in the Natural History Museum, they have big round feet with 5 toes. So clear differences between them all.
So is this the only one?
No. They're on a good day when there's no sand, probably just after Christmas. There's about 200 of these on the beach.
Wow, 200, that's
Yes.
so many. Do you find other bits of iguanodons around the island?
Yes. Iguanodons are the most common dinosaur we have here, and most of these footcasts are iguanodon footcasts. So we think they're all coming down in big herds, mixed age or mixed sizes, because we find tiny little ones as well, and we find ones that are twice the size of this one. So real diversity. It's just a nice snapshot of time.
And so with these have come out of this cliff that's in front of us here?
Yes, so there's a hard bed up in the cliff, and that's where they're falling out from.
Oh, Megan, that's been amazing. This is such a good discovery. I love it so much. Thank you for spending a bit of time with us and showing me a bit about what Compton Bay's got to offer. It's amazing.
That's all right. Bye.
I've really enjoyed spending time on the Isle of Wight, learning about all the amazing fossils that you can find here. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. If you want to find out more about fossils from the Natural History Museum, don't forget to hit the link.